Change your thinking, you change your life. We've all heard that, but the reason that most people don't shift is because they haven't asked themselves why they're thinking the thoughts that they're thinking in the first place. My name is David Haas. In this short video, I'm going to walk you through how to actually change your thinking beyond just conscious thinking. I've dedicated the last 20 years of my life to understanding why I am the way I am. And in this video, I'm going to break down the critical shift that finally allowed me to change how I was thinking so that I could change my life. So we're all hearing this out there. Change your thinking, you change your life, which is 100% true, except for the fact that we have 20 to 70,000 subconscious or unconscious thoughts every single day. So if you try and inject a few positive thoughts or affirmations throughout the day, those few positive thoughts that you have are up against the 20 to 70,000 subconscious thoughts. And so we all know that the subconscious is really running the show. We've heard this over and over again. And so what we need to do is we need to understand, well, why are we having these subconscious thoughts in the first place? Where did all this thinking about whatever it is that we're thinking about come from? And when we can make that shift, that will lower the noise of the mind so that we can then install new beliefs, new thinking that will change our life. And this is essentially like what Joe Dispenza is teaching. He is basically saying to people that the mind can't tell the difference between reality and imagination. And so if you sit in imagining your best life, you sit in the gratitude of achieving everything that you've ever wanted to achieve, and if you do that often enough, eventually your thinking will change. You'll begin identifying more as that imaginary version of yourself, or that visualized version of, maybe is a better word, of yourself, and you'll stop identifying as your old patterns. The only thing that I think is missing, and Joe is obviously getting into this, but he kind of advertises that as like you can create these visualizations which will create your life. But the deep work is actually about understanding why we are having all of the thoughts in the first place. If we try and go to war against these subconscious thoughts with visualizations, it probably won't work because it's just essentially, it's too much work. It's like you have to sit in long meditations, you have to stay connected to deep emotions, and learning how to do that takes time, it takes skill, it takes practice. And most people, because they don't see the instant reward, will end up stepping out of that. And so what I found worked really well for me was like a little bit more, let's call it, of a logical approach, even though the stuff that I do, the coaching I do, is very nonlinear. But using this process is to understand first and foremost what it is we're thinking about so much. Before we even try and change any of our thinking, we want to just ask, what is it that we're thinking about all of the time? And so when you do that, when you set the intention to just begin to listen to what you're telling yourself, what you're going to realize is that you're telling yourself the same thing over and over again. Your thoughts may be very focused on, let's say, getting rich. And so you'll constantly be thinking about how you don't have enough and how you need to make more money. You'll be thinking about business opportunities. You'll be trapped in desire. You'll be looking at expensive cars. You'll be comparing yourself to other people. All of that could be put in the container of wealth. Maybe you're thinking about regrets of the past, and thinking about the relationship that you missed out on or the person that you let go of. And so maybe you're trapped in the past and all of your focus is there. Maybe all of your thoughts are around fear and worry. You're worried about any potential dangers. You're worried about potential outcomes. You're worried about judgment. And so when you recognize this, you're going to see that all of the unconscious thoughts you have are actually really about 4 or 5 things. And so when we can identify what those 4 or 5 things are, we can then take a step deeper and begin to understand why we started thinking that in the first place. And so this is probably better described in an example. And this is something that came to me recently, which is an amazing undoing of a program that has lived deep within me. So before I tell you that story, we first have to recognize that the mind, its primary function is to protect us. And so it protects us from physical pain. It also protects us from emotional pain. If we experience any type of emotional pain, especially early on in our life from 0 to 12 years old, because this is when we take on programs unconsciously, meaning we're unaware that we have bought into a program. Those programs, those beliefs, those patterns become our greatest limitations. And so I recently went to this Alex Hormozi event, and the recognition that I had there, without even him teaching it to me, it was just by me setting the intention of like looking for the answer, was that the fact that I was looking for the answer was the problem. The fact that I had been constantly searching out there for the one solution that would finally move me into these high states of wealth or abundance, the fact that I was looking was more so about my own internal lack of self-belief. And if I really begin to analyze how that lack of self-belief has affected my life, it's like it has completely limited me, right? The biggest way it shows up for me is by shifting focus, right? It's like, and I've done it hundreds of times. Even in the last year, I've shifted my focus probably 20 times, right? And it's because I don't believe that I have what it takes to move to this certain level of income or wealth or whatever that may be. And when I went to this Hormozy event, that recognition came crystal clear to me. It was like, there's nothing else I need. Like, I don't need to keep searching. It's like, I have everything that I need. The only thing that I need to do is do the thing that I'm doing more, right? And so that was the stark difference between me and him. He had just done more of one thing, right? And I had shifted my focus repetitively out throughout the whole course of my entire life. And all of this stemmed from this deep, deep sense of not being smart enough. And so where did that come from in my life? Well, basically came from grade school. Like, I was probably like ADHD kid before that was a diagnosis. And the classroom wasn't the place for me. And because of that, I got put into like assisted learning programs where I would get pulled out of class and they would be like, hey, Dave, you got to come do your extra work. And it was so embarrassing. I felt like I was stupid. I felt like I was less than, not to mention the fact that I was getting poor grades and all of these other things. And so from that, I developed this belief that I didn't have the intelligence to make it. Right? This has been an unconscious belief that has been literally ruling my life up until recently. And so now what had happened is I had recognized that the undoing of that belief was just the recognition that I already have everything that I need. And the belief that I took on that I don't led me to the search for it out there. That search for it out there became the greatest source of my limitation. Hopefully I'm pulling that all together for you. And so when we begin to recognize this by first observing our thoughts and then getting to the root of why we created those protections in the first place, then we can begin leaning into the pain that we're avoiding. And for me, that would be the embarrassment, the shame, the feeling of not being good enough, the feeling of being less than, and recognizing that we're okay in that. The awareness combined with the attachment to the emotion and the feeling of the emotion then lowers the noise of the mind, right? Those probably thinking about, am I on the right path, has been the question I've had. That has probably consumed 50% of my thinking for the last 46 years. And so now that that is turned off, right? Now that I believe that there's nothing else that I need, now that I believe that I have everything from within, it's going to allow me to stay on one path and stay focused. And because of that, I'm probably going to achieve everything that I ever wanted to achieve in my life. And so that one realization, I will have this process called catch, connect, recontextualize, release, catching the thought, connecting it to where it all began in your life, connecting it to a belief system, right? I don't have what it takes as my belief system. Releasing, recontextualizing it to I have everything that I need and really believing it. And then finally releasing the emotion that belief system and that program was protecting me from allowed me to clear the noise of the mind. And now when the noise of the mind is clear, yes, we can sit in these visualizations and we can change our thinking just like Dispenza is doing at all his workshops, but it's almost not even necessary, right? Do you see how the limiting belief of I don't have it to I have it naturally will lead me to having it, right? Do you see how there is no need to sit in visualizations? There's no need to imagine your future. Well, I think it's all amazing. And if you have the diligence to do it, I think it will work 100%. But with this approach, the shift happens effortlessly. There is no force, there is no discipline that is required. It's just a matter of recognizing the limitation that you've created, healing from it, and the limitation goes away. If it shows up, at least now you have the awareness that, oh, there's my limitation again. There's me shifting focus again. Oh, this is all about the belief that I don't have what it takes. No, I do have what it takes, and just stay on the path. And so this is the process of learning how to create real change in your thinking so that you can create the life of your dreams. If you got any value whatsoever from this content, from this video, just click that like and subscribe video to train the algorithm so you can see more content just like this so that you can change your thinking so you can change your life.